Hi and welcome to New Scandinavian Cooking from Fredrikstad, Østfold. I'm Andreas Vistad. Rapeseed is not just beautiful to behold when it's in full bloom like this in early June, it's also a handy way to solve an ancient Scandinavian problem, namely, what is our olive oil? Between fish oil and butter, there hasn't really been much until the discovery of low-acid rapeseed oil. Today, this is treated with as much reverence as a Sicilian farmer treats his olives, cold-pressed, extra virgin. I'll start off today's cooking in the blooming rapeseed fields of Hedmark, where I'll make a salad served with a sauce that is a molecular miracle, the simplest emulsion sauce we have, namely a vinaigrette. Then I'll cook fresh autumn vegetables served with a chlorophyll-shocked homemade mayonnaise. And I'll use rapeseed oil to poach mackerel, which is a great way to make one of our seasonal favorites last for a long time. And for main course, and finally, I'm going to deep fry mackerel using a beer batter served with crispy potatoes, beetroot and Norwegian cabbage salad. The rapeseed plant is a part of the cabbage family, and you can really see it from the plant because it has these green leaves that when you eat them, they have a distinct cabbagey flavor. I think it's rather nice in small quantities. I wouldn't just eat a dish consisting of these leaves, but you can mix it in with other vegetables. And the yellow flowers look precisely like mustard, another member of the same family. And when they're in bloom like this, they taste sweet and rather nice. And when they grow up, this is what happens. It gets these tiny, tiny seeds. Looks like mustard, but it doesn't taste like mustard. It doesn't really taste like much at all. A little hint of grassiness and sweetness, and a little bit of bitterness, I think. But when you crush them, that's when you get oil. After a whole lot of turning, this is what I've ended up with. It doesn't look too appealing, but then again, nor does olive oil when it's just out of the press. But it tastes nice. And what actually happens is that this oil goes through a laborious filtering process, and the result is this, yellowish and clear and quite mild. I'm going to use this rapeseed oil to make a vinaigrette to go with a simple salad. And vinaigrette is something that is very, very simple to make. Yet it's quite complicated if you look at it at the molecular level, because it's actually an emulsion sauce. We need oil and vinegar. This is a pear vinegar. You can also use apple cider vinegar. If you see here, the vinegar is at the bottom and the oil is at the top. And oil and vinegar or water will not mix. So what you got to do is bring in something that can hold them together, that can bring them together. And what you need is an emulsifier. And in this case, the emulsifier is mustard, about a teaspoon of this. And I'm also going to flavor the dressing a little bit, give it some temperament. So I take 1 clove of garlic that I crush and add it to the dressing. Put a lid on and shake it. Now we have a fine emulsion sauce, a mixture where you can't see the difference between the vinegar and the oil, and it's got a nice hint of sweetness from the pear vinegar and a roundness from the rapeseed oil, and then of course that little sting from the garlic. I'm going to make a salad consisting mainly of kind of small leaves. This is mace, and then I've got some of the cabbagey rapeseed plant leaves. And when you toss the salad a little, you can hardly tell the two apart. And I think that's nice. That's a quality in itself, because one mouthful will taste different from the other. To this, I take some young carrots and then some sugar snap peas. And you can put them in whole, but I cut them in 2 or 3. And then some radishes, just because they've got a bit of a bite, but also they have this nice shocking color. And then last but not least, 1 spring onion. And now you can see that the vinaigrette is starting almost to separate, so it's good to give it one last shake. This is just a simple salad, but it's got a multitude of flavors, and it's all held together by the dressing, of course. For a few hectic summer months, we have mackerel. Mackerel is a pretty special fish. It is pelagic, it means it travels. But it has to travel, it has to move, because its gills are not so good, so if it stops, it actually dies. Most of winter it spends far out on the ocean. It doesn't eat much, it's difficult to catch. But for a few hectic summer months, it's here in abundance. But isn't there a way to make it last? There is a way to make the mackerel of summer last a whole lot longer, and that is to conserve it in oil. Here I have very fresh mackerel, and I just cut the fish into quite rough pieces. I'll season the fish first and foremost with salt, and then herbs. Oregano and some fresh rosemary, both very kind of warm and earthy ones, and then a little bit of the intensely flavored young thyme, and then some of the freshness or even kind of soapy notes that you get from fresh coriander or cilantro. To those of you who think that everything has to be finely chopped, well, it doesn't make sense. The herbs are here to flavor the oil and the fish, and they'll do that regardless whether they are in minuscule pieces or a little bit bigger like this. Also add a little bit of celery to get a nice fresh flavor. Then I'm adding hot rapeseed oil And here I have oil that I warmed up to 100 degrees Celsius, 212 Fahrenheit. The hot oil will heat the fish, but it won't make it last very long because the cold fish will also cool off the oil. So if you want this to keep for a long time, for weeks or months, then you should heat it further by placing it in a water bath. When it starts to reach, say, 180 Fahrenheit, that's 82 degrees Celsius, then it is food safe and it will keep for a very long time. Hvaler, far to the southeast of Norway near the border to Sweden, is an ancient settlement, and you can understand why. You're close to pretty rich agricultural areas, you have a direct proximity to the sea, and according to people here, it's always sunny. Østfold is the most intensely farmed part of Norway, but agriculture here is quite diverse, from giant fields to small mom-and-pop operations. Korsvollgård, far out on the Hvaler archipelago, is run by Else Tornfeldt. Her husband Dag is a famous photographer and also the farm hand. And I fell for this farm long before I'd been here. I just bought some eggs at the store one day, brought them home without thinking too much about it. But when I tasted them, I thought, wow, these are the best eggs I've ever tasted. I especially find these beautiful, these kind of greenish ones from Araucana chickens. One of the things that I really love about spring and early summer is fresh asparagus with homemade mayonnaise made with super fresh eggs. But even in late summer and autumn, there are vegetables that can be treated much the same way as asparagus, and they taste just as good. One of them is broccoli, and then you got this very popular vegetable 400 years ago, salsify. It used to be eaten mainly for medicinal purposes, and we don't really emphasize that so much anymore, and perhaps that's why it went out of fashion. But it is really nice. If you treat it right, it has a subtle sweetness to it, kind of like white asparagus, but without the bitter bite. And rinse it in water. And they need to boil 15 to 20 minutes. So while they're cooking, I'm going to make mayonnaise, homemade mayonnaise, using these fresh, wonderful eggs. And it all starts with an egg yolk. I'm adding a little bit of salt and a little bit of acidity. It could either be lemon juice or a little bit of vinegar. This is white wine vinegar. Once this is mixed together, then you can start to add the oil. So whisk in one drop, and then one more drop, and then one more drop. Do it slowly. That's the best way to ensure success when you're making this very advanced emulsion sauce. And I think I'll stop here. When you make your own homemade mayonnaise, you can decide what texture you want, whether you want it quite stiff or quite light and airy like this. Or it seems light and airy, it's really not. I'm gonna make an herb mayonnaise. So I'm gonna add some herbs. Normally I just chop them finely, but in this case I'm gonna extract the juices from them using a wheatgrass juicer like this. First and foremost, chives, but also a little bit of parsley. An interesting thing happens when you extract the juices from some herbs, especially chives, to some extent parsley as well. It immediately turns into gel. I've heard somewhere that if you eat one shot glass of wheatgrass juice or extracted herbs like this, it contains as much vitamins and nutrients as 1 kilo, more than 2 pounds of vegetables. Now the salsifier is nearly cooked. I'd give them another 5 minutes, and that's about as much time as it takes to cook the broccoli. Now the vegetables are done. And it's an interesting thing that broccoli and the rapeseed are relatives, and they go really well together. And here it is, as nice as the best asparagus in early summer. You can find all the recipes at our website, newscancook.com. There's a yellow belt of rapeseed stretching all the way from Hedmark in the north and down through Østfold to the Swedish border. That this is the land of plenty is obvious. The rapeseed plant has a unique ability to capture sunlight and nutrition from the soil and turn it into energy. And that's why rapeseed has been used for multiple purposes. It has been used for animal feed and of course for human consumption. But did you know that if you have a diesel car, you could run your car on rapeseed oil? The disadvantage is that you're feeding your car something that a human could have eaten. Well, you can take it one step further. You can actually use used oil, vegetable oil. This car runs on used frying oil. So Stig here has put in a radiator to heat frying oil, and then you can use the same oil that has been used to make fries and onion rings and fish and chips.
That's right.
Fuel prices are rocketing these days. How much do you pay for your fuel?
It's free. See, the local restaurant pays 2 crowns a liter to get rid of the oil as a special waste. So they are very happy when I come down and pick it up for them.
And it really smells like a snack bar or a fry shop. Fredrikstad is proud to be the oldest and best preserved fortress town in the whole of Scandinavia. The old town was founded by King Fredrik II in 1567. And when you walk around here, you're reminded of history at every corner. But you also tend to ignore some of the facts of history. What caused this city to be founded?
Good comment.
The people who lived here were obviously afraid of something. That's why they built fortresses and garrisons and why they had cannons posted. And what were they afraid of, or whom? They were afraid of the Swedes. That goes to show how things have changed. When you've got a fine fish like mackerel, what you've got to do is be as gentle as possible. So sometimes I like to eat the fish raw or just marinate it in a little bit of lime. But I also think that it's very nice to deep fry it. And strangely enough, that's quite a gentle way to treat the fish. And it leaves the fish coming out completely moist and with a really pure, nice flavor. I'm gonna deep fry this mackerel in a beer batter. And to make the beer batter, I have about 1/3 cup all-purpose flour, and I'm adding quite a generous amount of salt. So 2 teaspoons. And in addition to this, 1 egg and some dark beer. Here I've got a Norwegian porter. It's nice with beer that it has bubbles, so you get a much more airy batter. I cut the fish into 3 pieces, and I'll just leave the fish in the batter while I prepare the potatoes. They are also going in a batter. I made exactly the same batter using all-purpose flour, salt, eggs, but instead of beer, I've added milk. So it's a much lighter and sweeter batter. And to this, I'm adding 1 shot of this Too Healthy for Your Own Good. I've had liquor that was weaker than this. Here, we've got this light green batter, to which I'm adding some just barely cooked small potatoes. And just turn the potatoes in the batter as well. Now it's time to deep fry them. I'm deep frying at 180 Celsius, that's 360 Fahrenheit. In addition to the potatoes and mackerel, I'm slicing some cooked beetroot for color and also for texture. It becomes wonderfully nice and crisp. And while the fish and potatoes are frying, I'm going to make a simple Norwegian cabbage salad. And cabbage is something we associate with something heavy, but it can also be light and fresh tasting, especially if you eat it raw. I'm just gonna slice some red cabbage, some nice fresh white cabbage, and then some fennel. Of course, has this wonderful sweetness, almost kind of licorice-like flavor, and some cucumber. Then I toss this mixture, and to make the flavors meld a bit, I'm adding a little bit of sugar and a little bit of salt that will help draw out some of the moisture and make flavors come together. And I shake vigorously, and by shaking like this for 20 seconds, you'll do more to meld the flavors than if you leave it to stand for 2 hours. Look, already a lot of moisture has come out, and what we need now is just a little bit of acidity, a little bit of tartness. Here I've got some pear cider vinegar. You can also use apple cider vinegar. And now it's been 5.5 minutes and the fish is done. And this is a deep fried mackerel with green potatoes and cabbage salad. Remember that you can find all the recipes at our website newscancook.com.